I don't want to wake up tomorrow. I hope I get into a car crash. My life has no meaning. I don't want to be here anymore. Do these dark and ominous musings seem familiar? If you or someone you know is plagued by these thoughts, it can be a silent sign of a muffled inner scream, known as passive suicide ideation. Trigger warning. This blog post contains discussions about suicidal thoughts and mental health struggles that may be distressing or triggering for some readers. If you are currently struggling, please prioritize your well-being. Seek support and know that you are not alone. If you or someone you know is in crisis, please reach out to a mental health professional or contact a crisis line in your area. What is passive suicide ideation? Passive suicide ideation, passive SI, is a form of suicidal thinking, but without a suicidal behavior. People who experience passive suicide ideation might feel they would be better off dead, but they don't resort to any intentional act to end their life. It is a wish or desire, which resurfaces again and again, that it would be okay if something bad happens to them, something that could put them out of their misery, but without a plan in place to actively take their own life. Passive suicide. Ideation symptoms. Signs of passive suicide. Ideation are very common, yet misunderstood. These signs can be subtle and easy to miss. Moreover, those of the more explicit ones can be misinterpreted or not taken seriously. We will delve into them in detail later in this blog. People who struggle with passive suicide ideation may have thoughts like, "I wish I was never born. I don't want to live anymore. People would be better off without me." A person with passive suicide ideation might fantasize about dying or frequently think about death. They might be suffering and just want to be done with life internally. They don't feel excited about life or living and just want to be over with their challenges. Warning signs. Showing emotions of deep despair, worthlessness, loneliness, or emotional numbness. Pulling away from friends, family, or usual social activities. Noticeable disruptions in sleep, such as insomnia or oversleeping. Persistent sadness or sudden, unpredictable mood changes. Giving away cherished or sentimental belongings without clear reason. Visible marks or injuries that suggest self-harming behaviors. Heightened anxiety, short temper, or sudden bursts of anger. Turning to alcohol or drugs more frequently than usual. Looking up ways to carry out suicide or trying to obtain harmful items like medications, toxins, or weapons, but not following through. Making final farewells or parting messages to people they care about. There are many people who are experiencing passive suicide ideation, but they don't even know that they are experiencing it. If you are one of those people, or if you feel concerned about someone, you might wonder what to call these thoughts, what to do about them. So, here are 5 things about passive suicide ideation that you need to know, which can bring you some clarity and relief and help you to have a better grip on your overall well-being. Passive suicide ideation. 5 misunderstood truths you must know. Here are 5 things about passive SI that are very rarely talked about and mostly misunderstood. Is passive suicidal ideation normal? There are many who might think that passively thinking about death or feeling like giving up when things get hard or challenging is a normal occurrence among people. This comes as a part and parcel of living in a modern, fast-paced world full of challenges. So, we all are likely to experience passive suicide ideation at some point in our life. It is inevitable. Life basically sucks, so we just need to buckle up and accept the fact that we are going to be miserable. However, it is not true. Suicidal ideation, either active or passive, is a dangerous sign of deteriorating mental and emotional health, and points at deep, hidden, and inner lying issues, which we might have not recognized or addressed yet. Life does not have to feel this way. Passive suicide. Ideation versus active suicide ideation. Is it less severe? Active suicide. Ideation is suicidal thoughts with planning and actively taking steps toward taking one's life. Passive suicide ideation, just like active S, stems from multiple mental health issues like mood disorder, depression or depressive episodes, bipolar disorder, obsessive-compulsive disorder, trauma or stressful life events, identifying as LG, BTQIA+, and not getting proper support. Discrimination and not getting included. However, in the case of passive SI, many people may wrongly think that the severity of their mental health issues is not very high. According to research, the difference between passive suicide ideation and active SI depends not on the severity of depressive thoughts, but underlying personality traits and personality differences. The act of taking one's life requires a capacity for violence, and many people, thank God for that, do not have a stomach for that kind of a violent act. It's a line that they just cannot make themselves cross. Another important factor is the belief that one is a burden to others. If someone thinks that their existence has no value at all and that they are a burden to their family or an obligation at work, they are more likely to be at risk for active SI. On the other hand, if someone feels that they are valued at work or that their family would be devastated if anything happens to them, or in essence, they have some value or importance to others, they would be in the passive territory. This knowledge of how their passing could negatively impact others might prevent them from actively taking any step toward death. They might still pray for their death, but won't be pulling the trigger themselves. However, this does not change the fact that they are dying a slow and agonizing death inside. They don't know how much more they can take. They go on suffering silently. These are people who are experiencing severe depressive symptoms. They are not enjoying their life. So, it's not right to assume for people with passive SI that their depression is not that bad or that their depressive symptoms are mild or moderate. Why passive suicide ideation shouldn't be ignored. Firstly, you never know when passive suicide ideation can evolve and move into the active territory. Secondly, many of the passive suicide ideation symptoms are dangerous enough. This is where we will talk about those more direct or explicit signs of passive SI. You must remember that although people experiencing passive SI are not doing anything to end their life, they are not avoiding it either. This means they can consciously or unconsciously put themselves in risky situations. They might engage in activities that do not support self-care or self-preservation. Such passive SI behavior can translate into reckless driving or not putting on seatbelt, heavy substance abuse, neglecting their treatment plan, like skipping medication or overdosing, intentionally getting involved in unsafe situations, like going to an unsafe area at night. Passive suicide ideation has levels of not giving a damn about one's well-being, and this can get extremely dangerous if not addressed on time. Passive suicide ideation and intrusive thoughts about death are not sane. Intrusive thoughts about death are not desires or longings like passive SI. These intrusive thoughts are mostly things that we do not wish to happen. Intrusive thoughts about death are sudden, unwanted mental images or ideas like envisioning oneself dying in an accident. That can feel disturbing, something that freaks us out. They are usually not aligned with our true desires and can cause distress precisely because they are uninvited. These thoughts can latch onto our mind, but these mental images or thoughts make us more careful. They terrify us, influencing us to take measures so that these things don't happen. Passive suicide. Ideation is treatable. Here are some ways to manage passive suicide ideation. Reflecting on one's moods and thoughts. Paying attention to when passive suicidal thoughts arise and what might trigger them can be helpful. Journaling or using mood tracking tools can help someone with passive S. I understand their emotional patterns and recognize that these thoughts often signal deeper distress, not who they are. Practicing self-care. Self-care includes understanding one's emotions and thought patterns. Reading about mental health, practicing mindfulness, or engaging in calming activities can help manage symptoms. Learning what helps one feel better can shift their focus from just coping to truly healing. Creating a personal safety plan. It can be a powerful tool for individuals struggling with thoughts of suicide, including those experiencing passive suicidal thoughts. This plan serves as a quick access guide during moments of emotional overwhelm or crisis, offering structure and support when it's needed most. A safety plan might include contact details of trusted friends, family members, or supportive individuals. A list of healthy coping strategies that work. Engaging distractions, like a comforting playlist, uplifting videos, or calming activities. Emergency contact numbers for local mental health hotlines and crisis services. Professional help. Although there is no direct therapeutic protocol or medication for passive SI, it should be noted that in almost all cases, passive SI happens within the context of some form of depression, depressive episodes, or mood disorder. And these are treatable through psychotherapy, psychiatric medication, a combination of both a cry for relief, rather than a desire to die, passive S. I can occur due to several reasons, including a feeling of lack of purpose, connection, or hope. Individuals with passive S, I may feel emotionally numb, overwhelmed by life situations, or burdened by unresolved issues. This type of ideation often surfaces when someone feels stuck and can't envision a way forward. It's important to recognize that these thoughts, while distressing, are often a cry for relief rather than a desire to die, and they can be managed with support, self-awareness, and compassionate care. While medication can help with unblocking neurotransmitters or healing chemical imbalances, therapy can offer insights and a structure to cope with adverse life experiences. So, if you are silently suffering from passive suicide ideation, or know someone who does, talk to someone, take action, and start the process of getting the right help from a professional mental health care provider. Life is worth living, my friend. Don't give up. Frequently asked questions, FAQs. What is passive suicide ideation? Passive suicidal ideation involves thoughts like, I wish I were dead, or I hope I don't wake up, without any intent or plan to act on them. It reflects a desire for relief from emotional pain rather than active self-harm. Is passive suicidal ideation normal? Passive suicidal ideation is more common than many people realize, especially during periods of intense stress, depression, or emotional exhaustion. While it doesn't always indicate immediate danger, it's a sign that someone is struggling and may benefit from mental health support. If these thoughts persist or worsen, professional help is strongly recommended. What are some passive suicide ideation symptoms? Typical signs include feelings of hopelessness, frequent thoughts of death without planning, social withdrawal, increased anxiety or agitation, engagement in risky behaviors, and neglect of self-care.